Good evening, Mayor. Good afternoon.
Hey, good evening, Dustin.
That's all right.
Who all do we have on the call?
We have Alderwoman Smith, we have Alderwoman Irving, Alderwoman Mathis, we have Alderman Davis, Alderman Dillert. We're still waiting on Alderman Frazier. We have the city attorney on.
What about the city clerk?
Not yet. I haven't heard her voice. I think I see the login, like maybe Denise is on, but I haven't heard from her yet.
Yes, I'm on. This is Denise.
Oh, hey, Denise.
Hey.
Okay, is Sevilla going to be on the call, Denise?
Yes, she's supposed to be on the call.
Okay, thanks, Denise.
Looks like the finance side might be kind of quiet and then build up at 6 for the regular. There's only 12 of us on now.
Okay, we're waiting on Alderman Frazier and the city clerk.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll get started as soon as they get on the call.
Good evening, caller.
Yes, it's Alderman Frazier.
Hello, Alderman Frazier. Welcome to the meeting.
Mr. V is about to dial you now.
Okay. So Sevilla is about to come on, and that makes everybody from the board. Alderman Frazier, we are getting some noise from your side. If you could just stay muted there till we get everybody going. Thank you.
Are we all still on? Because I don't hear anything.
Yes,
Hello?
we're
Okay.
on. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for Sevilla to call in so that we can get started. Okay, is that you, Sevilla?
That looks like maybe Pam.
Yeah, I just joined. This is Pam.
Okay, we're waiting on Sevilla, Pam.
Okay.
Okay. Attorney Latham, did we have any success getting any resources from the Recreation Commission on the call?
We didn't, other than I did have a discussion with Peyton that I'll share with the board.
Okay. Sevilla, is that you?
So this is Faye, Daryl.
Okay, thank you, Faye.
Faye, do you have an E at the end of your name, F-A-Y-E, or just...
No, just plain Jane, F-A-Y.
Okay, just checking. I think I've been adding an E on every time, so I made you fancy for a few weeks there.
Okay.
Okay, Sevilla, is that you?
No, that's Sabrina Robertson.
Okay. Denise, will you call Sevilla again and see if she'll go ahead on and get on the call, please, so I can
Yes.
get started?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, just for reference, we do have Pam has the executive session number if we have to switch over later.
Okay, right. And that's what I was going to suggest is to go ahead on and be prepared to go into executive session prior to the regular meeting. We might be able to move expeditiously on this finance, depending on how long the discussion goes with the recreation budget. Okay. Is that Sevilla?
It's Faye, I got bumped off.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I'm on the phone with her now. She's having a little trouble.
Is Peyton Kavanaugh online?
No, he isn't. Bob spoke with him earlier.
Okay, is he coming there?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, okay.
You coming to the
Okay.
meeting? Okay.
I couldn't understand you, Bob.
Were you asking if Peyton was going to be at this meeting?
Yes.
Okay. No, he's not going to be at
Okay. Because I'm gonna try to familiarize myself with the budget, but the commission did that budget along with Peyton.
Okay. All right. So thank you. At this time, I'm going to go ahead on and call the finance meeting, a virtual teleconference meeting of the Mayor Board of Aldermen to order. It's May 26th, the year 2020. The time is 5:05 p.m. And for the record, will the city clerk perform the roll call?
Alderman Matthews? Here. Alderman Frazier?
Here.
Alderwoman Smith?
Here.
Alderwoman Irving?
Here.
Alderman Davis?
Here.
Alderman Dillert?
Here.
Mr. Latham?
here.
All present, Mayor and County Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So this time we have the finance session of this meeting to discuss the proposed Recreation Commission's budget. That was disseminated to members of the Board of Aldermen approximately a week ago. And we felt that we need to have a discussion on that budget. Bob, you spoke with Peyton Cavett, who represents the Recreation Commission in terms of being their finance advisor. Did you want to preface this discussion?
Yes, I want to share with the comments that Peyton had about this adopted budget by the commission. So since he couldn't be here, I covered a few items with him that I thought the board would be interested in. It actually is showing as an annual budget for the current fiscal year. This is a budget that they actually did adopt on May the 5th, but it was adopted primarily because they just wanted to have a budget to present to the board to show what they anticipate an annual budget will be in the future and would have been this year, but for the pandemic. So Peyton did tell me that, most of their expenses, have been cut back substantially. He also informed me that they don't have a capital improvement project on board, so he doesn't think that that the city would be spending that $100,000 that I think the city actually has that in the budget anyway, but it's not going to be spent, as I understand it. A lot of the other expenses, for instance, the pool is, as I understand, the pool is not operational at this point because of the pandemic, and I don't think a decision has been made on when that will kick back into the operation. So a lot of these expenses are going to drop down substantially, according to Peyton. And the salary seemed to be another significant portion of the budget. Faye's salary is up there as director. Then there's only one other person that Peyton said they're currently paying, and that's a part-time office personnel person. And Faye, her name is, I understand her name is Emily. Peyton didn't have her last name, but they could tell us that. So that under the other salaries of maintenance, the seasonal people, there's no person generally, currently occupying the position as a maintenance person. So that's not money currently. And if you went on down the list of expenses, those are all estimated items that they would anticipate spending in a normal year. So in talking with Peyton, this is typically a budget you'll want to review when things get back to normal. I don't even think you could probably look at this as a budget, for 2021, but it's something to go by. I did point out to Peyton when I was talking to him, because in the revenue section of this budget, it shows appropriations from the county and appropriations from the city. And I just made him aware that the city has not appropriated this operating budget of $130,100 or the aquatics budget of $106,850. I think the city obviously has this capital improvement budget that the city committed to. So we covered all that information on a telephone conference earlier today, since he couldn't be available this afternoon. So if the board wants to, we need to have some discussion. Go ahead and discuss any items.
I had a question, if I may.
Okay, hold up one second, Alderman Mathis. Bob, you were saying something else towards the end?
No, I'm good with that. I'll just try to field any questions they got that I may have missed that I discussed with Peyton.
Hey, and Jim
Okay.
Earl.
Okay, Alderwoman Mathis, go ahead.
My question is, I didn't see anywhere on here, and Mayor, you were in the meeting. We had a meeting a few weeks back, and I can't pull it up on my computer now because I got the meeting up. But we were talking about the grant for the covering, and you remember that meeting, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so should that be in this? But the fact that I think we received one grant, and then we were adding to that grant, there was a possibility of adding to that grant those other items. And Faye, I think you were on that meeting. So I mean, should that be in here, or that's going to be additional? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think the way that will work is that it will be on the city side, because we are serving as the applicant for the grant. And as you remember, the County Board of Supervisors agreed to provide the 50% match that goes along with our match. So
Right.
I think that's,
Correct.
it's going to be a part of the city's budget rather than the recreational's budget, because we are serving as a grant applicant. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering about that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And that was a good point. But we're going to we have that in our budget. Other discussions about this budget that was presented to us.
Mayor.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Yes. Who is this?
Dan.
Okay, Alderman Dillert, go ahead.
I apologize. I may have received it, but I do not have any budget information from the Recreation Commission that I have. Maybe the other aldermen do, but I may have gotten it, but I'll just make apologies for it. I certainly would be interested in looking at it. Or will there be any action?
Okay. No action on it. Pam, are you on the call? Are you
Yes,
still
sir.
on the call, Pam?
Yes, I am. Yes, sir.
In the packets that were disseminated to the aldermen, a copy of the recreation,
Yes,
the
sir. It was a
proposed budget.
single, it was just a single sheet. It was in there.
Okay, it should have been in your packet, Alderman Dillert. I don't know if it got dropped out accidentally or what, but it's a single sheet, and at the top it says Natchez Adams County Recreation Commission Annual Financial Budget for fiscal year ending September 30th, the year 2020.
Mr. Mayor, he can pull up by email.
Which email?
Okay.
Sarah, do you have it, or Pam? Who spoke?
It was sent by Bob. You sent it out to the Board of Aldermen, or Pam?
Bam.
Okay, so it should have
Pam.
come from my office, Dan, via email.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Irving.
I just want to say they were placed in our mailboxes. I was up at City Hall today and I saw them in everybody's mailbox. At least I saw 4, 5, and 6 with them in their mailbox. There was a copy in our mailbox.
Okay, a hard copy in the mailboxes. Okay,
Yes, sir, it was.
all right, thank you. But Dan, it was sent to you by email also from my office.
I'm looking at it on the email. Well, right off the bat, the concerns I have about it is that, and we've been through this discussion, the city sets aside 2 mills, which are probably right around $200 and maybe $32,000, and then it also sets out 200 and some odd numbers in appropriations, around close to $300,000. And in the agreement, the county is to provide $340,000. Now, looking at this budget, it seems to carve off these capital improvement monies. Those capital improvements monies are in addition to the operating and maintenance amounts. So anyhow, I'm looking at it now, and as you assured me, there's no action to be taken today. It sounds like this is FYI for us to start looking at and be able to discuss it at a later date.
That's correct, Alderman Dillert. Were there any other discussions? Yes, Ms. Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to say, since so much of this is even obsolete because of what has happened with COVID, will they be planning to send one that's current?
That's a question for Faye. Faye or Jimmy Ware, they're on the call. Jimmy Ware is the chairman of the commission. Mr. Ware, would you like to respond to that question? Maybe Mrs. Minor, Faye Minor. I didn't get a response.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, just like as Alderman Smith said, this budget was presented by the commission, and we will be doing some updating to it, Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Minor.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Mathis.
Okay. I received, and I talked to Ms. Minor. I received, I think everybody may have gotten it, some pictures and some concerns from I think her name is Callie Godfrey, about those bathrooms out there by the pavilion. And she said that since we were in COVID-19 and the children didn't have many places to play, that when she took her child or whatever out there to be spaced out, to have to use those bathrooms in the situations in which they was horrible. And I'd like to yield to Faye to talk about that. I talked to Jimmy about it. He had some suggestions. I don't know if Jimmy's on the line, but he had a real good suggestion. And Faye had something. And I'm saying it because I'm thinking that's going to probably have to be dealt with rather swiftly if we're going to do anything with opening up the park this summer.
Okay, thank you, Alderwoman Mathis. Faye, would you like to discuss those restrooms at Duncan Park?
Yes, thank you, Alderman Mathis, for giving me a chance to talk about that. The Recreation Commission, I looked at this area months ago. And what we discovered up in the pavilion, the bathrooms attached to the pavilion, the building, that building has water leak under that concrete. In order to fix that leak, we got to tap that entire bathroom area. The stalls in the stalled area is wood. It has deteriorated, mildew. There's no waste or anything on the floor, but there's a lot of mildew where the water is running from under the concrete, where the concrete is cracked. And one of the things the commission looked at, their observation was to really, we like to say we got a state-of-the-art Duncan Park area. We got a great golf course. We got a nice tennis course. That entire pavilion is just gone. It really needs to be torn down. One of the suggestions we put is put a tin pavilion up there with bathroom attached on the end. That'll keep the wood and everything from rotting out, resurface that concrete, and do an upgrade on those bathrooms, because she's correct. Those bathrooms are in bad shape. And that's one of the things that, really need to be upgraded at Duncan Park. As it sits now, we can put a Band-Aid on it, which we've been doing for 15 years. And the Band-Aid is not going to stop that water leak from under the concrete. Right now, I have one employee that works 6 parks, and I'm the one that helps him cut up trees and load trucks, and because that's it. He and I, we're it. And but I'm thinking we got to get our recreation up to snuff here. We got state-of-the-art, like I say, tennis courts, golf course. These people come down in those tournaments. They bring their big families, these kids, play on those playgrounds. Let's look at getting this fixed up. And we looked at a 10 pavilion, and the bathroom will run us about $25,000 or $30,000. But we got to start upgrading. We have the same problem with that old house over at North Natchez. City got to start upgrading some of these buildings, or they're going to fall down. And that's where we stand right now. We can put a Band-Aid on it, but we still got water running, which we can paint the floors, paint the bathrooms, but that water is still spilling out, going to mildew those floors, right out the wood around it.
Okay, Ms. Miner, yes, was this Ms. Mathis? Go ahead.
Well, no.
Hello.
Is Jimmy on?
Who was it that was trying to?
Yeah, it's Jimmy.
Yeah.
I think that's him now.
Okay.
Yeah, let him. I'll yield to Jimmy.
I'm sorry I've been on mute, but yeah, we looked at that about 3 years ago at the Duncan Park, and even if you go in there and paint it with the water under the ground, it's still gonna make it slippery and somebody fall and hurt. The best thing we would actually do is actually tear the building down, put up a metal roof, metal top like those garages, resurface the concrete, and put the bathrooms on the end, and we'll have it fixed. And we estimate now we will get you some quotes on it on the metal part, and it shouldn't take that much. Now going back to the budget, I'm sorry I had walked away. Let me spend it on the budget because you was talking about it. With Peyton, when we met last month on the 5th of this month, we met. Silas and Simmons come in, so they wanted to do something about the budget, and they said we was outdated. So what we did was just put something on paper to get the talks going. And I told them, even with COVID, with the Corona-19, I say the money probably ain't gonna come in because tax dollars. But since they was wanting to put something on, and Peyton actually supposed to been on to present this, and we were just gonna be in the background. So this is just a starter.
Okay, and that's what I was going to suggest for you guys to go ahead on and get, cost estimates for the restrooms and the pavilion that you were talking about, and get back with the board on that because we need to look at numbers. Hold up, Ms. Irving. Okay. We definitely need to get the numbers so that we will know what we're looking at because of the financial hardship that we're facing as a result of this pandemic. So let's get the numbers. Ms. Irving, you had a question?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I wanted to ask to include Concord Park. That bathroom over there does need some cosmetic work to it. And I think it's more
Yes.
cosmetics than anything. So a good coat of paint inside out, would make it more appropriate and look more decent when you do have visitors come in and use all the tools and things that are within the park. Basketball, play or have an event there, then the bathrooms do need to be appropriate for use.
And on that note, let's keep these cost estimates separate because it's important that we look at our numbers very carefully here, because as we all know, we're having a shortfall in revenues due to this pandemic. So we have to prioritize, okay, in this process. Are there any other questions, comments, or discussions as it relate to anything as relate to this recreations budget that was presented to the board?
Mayor.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Dillert.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the bathrooms that we put over at, it's on St. Catherine. Jack Wyatt?
Jack Wade.
Yeah, Jack
Wade.
Those were about $65,000. The other comment I'd make is that I know they do make the metal building and the metals types, and we certainly those would probably be very cost effective. But I think the pavilion down further in the park on the backside, I used to call it the Barney play thing that they had back there. That's a really a pavilion. In my opinion, I would at least like to look at a cost of one of those as opposed to just a metal building type there. But I think we can get some estimates together and get a look at it. But I agree with everything that's said. It's time. That's a highly trafficked playground there. Everybody uses it from birthday parties to reunions and all kinds of stuff. But we'll be working forward towards that. That's my only suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dillert. Okay.
Mayor, I just have one question, if I could, just to the whole board. Did anybody else get the pictures that she sent out?
I did.
Okay, well, maybe we need to share them with the other board members so they can
I
see
got
before we go into this another time. I just wanted people to see what I saw, and it made me cringe, that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Right, thank you. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to request a motion that we proceed into a closed determination. Pam has sent the call-in information for the executive session. It was sent to you by text while we've been on this call. So at this time, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Alderman Davis and second by Alderman Dillert. Any unwrittenness on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting we're on a virtual meeting. Madam Clerk, perform the roll call. Madam Clerk?
Hello?
Yes, call the roll for the vote.
Alderman Natchez? Aye. Alderman Frazier? Aye. Alderman Smith?
Aye.
Alderman Irving?
Aye.
Alderman Davis?
Aye.
Alderman Dillert?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. So what we will do, again, Pam texts you the call-in information for executive session. You're going to switch over. And to everyone else who's on this call, you're to stay on this call because this is the call that we will use for the regular meeting. So we will return back to this number. So those of you who are not on the board, stay on this call. We will return for the regular meeting at 6 o'clock. So members, go ahead on and switch over to the executive session.
This is Bob Latham coming back into the finance meeting, stating that the mayor and board have made a determination that they have one item for executive session. It's litigation involving the city clerk's office. And as soon as we finish discussing, we'll be back in the meeting. Thank you.
All right, it is 6:06. We're going to go ahead on and get started. I want to preface and say to everyone, please place your phones on mute during this meeting. And as board members and other participants, you unmute at that particular point when you have to speak. All right, so just make sure that everyone's phone is on mute so that we can have clarity. Is that you, Alderman Frazier? Okay, I guess not. All right, so at this time, I'm going to call the regular meeting in the form of a virtual teleconference meeting of the mayor and board of aldermen to order at this time. The date, May 26th, the year 2020. The time is 6:07 p.m. Let me announce that we have another death in the city of Natchez from COVID-19. So I ask that we send out prayers to the family of that particular individual who passed away. And I ask that we dedicate this meeting to all of those individuals who passed away from COVID-19 in our city of Natchez. And we pray that we have no more of these deaths to occur in the city. I'm going to ask if Alderwoman Irving, if you would provide us with a word of prayer. And following the prayer, Chief Ventress Green, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Alderwoman Irving, will you provide us with a prayer, please?
Yes, Mayor. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is in the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Father God, as we begin this meeting, I pray that we make good decisions in this meeting this evening, and welcome all of our guests that will be a part of this meeting. These and all other blessings that we ask in your darling Son, Jesus' name. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alderwoman Irving. Chief Green.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief Green. At this time, the city clerk will perform the roll call.
Alderman Natchez?
Here.
Alderman Frazier?
Yeah.
Alderwoman Smith?
Here.
Alderwoman Irving? Here. Alderman Davis?
Here.
Alderman Dillert?
Here.
Mr. Latham?
Here.
President Mechanical, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. The first set of minutes are up. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to move those minutes, but we have some editorial changes that I have discussed with the city clerk's office. So I want to move them. If I get a second, I'll tell you what the editorial changes are.
All right.
Second.
First set.
Second.
Okay. So let me state what minutes they are first, and then at that point I will entertain the motion. At a regular meeting of April 14th of the year 2020, we're trying to make it part of the record because this meeting is recorded and it becomes part of the record. So Alderwoman Mathis, do I hear your motion?
Yes, Mayor, I move the minutes of the regular meeting of April 14th with editorial changes.
And it's been seconded by Alderwoman Irving. All right, unreadiness on the motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Specifically on page, number 9, 6, I think it was page 6, it is. It's item number 140:04/20. A motion was made by Alderwoman Mathis, second by Alderman Dillert, to approve the mayor to sign the agreement to suspend work on the North Natchez project, period. But it was suspended for a specific period of time. Mr. Johnston should be on this call, and it's my understanding that it was a 60-day period, Mr. Johnston, and it was a date attached to that because it was it's a contract that's in place. So could I get him to give us the date so that we can go on and put that as a part of the minutes, and not that it was just suspended for eternity?
Yes, ma'am, on both accounts.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, on both accounts, 60 days through April 14th.
I need that added to the minutes, Mr. Mayor. And the second part of the...
So noted.
Okay. And also on the last page, number 144:04/20, we need to know what Alderwoman made that motion. That's it. And that's all I have for that set.
Okay. All right.
That's
so
true.
it needs to be inserted.
Yes.
Which alderman offered the motion? Madam Clerk, you need to.
Yes, they were
Alderwoman what?
yes, they were corrected today, Mayor. She called for them. We corrected them already.
Okay, they've been corrected. All right. All right. Is there unreadiness on the motion? Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving?
Aye.
Alderman Davis?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Minutes approved with the corrections. Next, special call meeting of April 16th, the year 2020.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Mathis.
I move them with editorial changes, and I will tell you which one it is.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderwoman Mathis, second by Alderwoman Irving. Unreadiness. Go ahead, Ms. Mathis.
Thank you, sir. It's number 148:04/20. A motion was made by Alderwoman Mathis, second by Alderman Dillert, to declare the portion of city property known as Little Tokyo. That's supposed to be Little Mexico.
Okay. Correction so noted. Is there any other unreadiness or corrections?
Yes, sir. I did have a question on number 149, and this probably has to go to the attorney. Number 149:04/20 said it was a motion made by Alderman Dillert and second by Alderman Davis to approve the agreement, to enter into an agreement. Was it to approve a resolution or an agreement to enter into an agreement with Viking? I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out if it's agreement to agreement or resolution to agreement.
City Attorney.
Bob, do you have a...
I didn't see copies of these minutes, so I don't have them in front of me. Somehow they didn't get to me, but it would have been a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the city through the mayor and the clerk to enter into an agreement to lease.
So the word should be resolution, not an agreement to the agreement. A resolution to the agreement. Okay,
Yes,
that needs to be corrected. All right, is there any other unreadiness or corrections for the minutes of the special call meeting of April 16th of this year? Hearing none. Ward 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Ward 5?
Aye.
And Ward 6?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, it's unanimous by the board that the minutes of the special call meeting of April 16th of this year be approved with those corrections. Next, regular meeting of April 28th of this year.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Mathis,
I move those with editorial changes.
is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderwoman Mathis, second by Alderwoman Irving, to approve the minutes with the necessary corrections. Ms. Mathis?
Yes, sir. On the very last page, if everybody will turn to it, number 167:04/20. I think we need the attachment. The board can decide whether it does or not, but I think it would be good to have the attachment regarding the COVID-19 that was adopted by the state of Mississippi. That's one. The second correction is necessary. Number 168:04/20. A motion was made by Alderman Davis and second by Alderwoman Irving to enter into closed determination. There is no motion that shows where we voted to come out of closed determination, because the very next item is a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a letter, and that would mean that we did it in closed determination, and we did not. So there has to be a motion somewhere that shows that we came out of closed determination. And the third one is...
Right. There should be, not only should there be a motion for coming out, but there should also be a motion where we proceeded into executive session. And there should be a motion where we come out of the executive session.
None of those are there.
So it's missing two motions.
Well, if a motion was made by
Okay, that needs
to enter into closed determination, it was a motion made to enter.
right.
Yeah.
But then after that motion, after it was determined, then there should have been a second motion to proceed into executive session to discuss those items that qualified for executive session.
Yes, sir,
And
you're exactly
then
correct.
the motion to return to open. Yes, that needs to be corrected, Madam Clerk.
And then the last one, Mr. Mayor, I'm
Okay.
not trying to rush. I just didn't want to hold y'all up on this. It's just that I found them, and they're important since we're doing virtual. Number 169:04/20. It stated a motion was made by Alderwoman Smith, second by Alderwoman Irving, to authorize the mayor to sign a letter with Tony Moon, Natchez Waterworks, but it didn't state what the letter was for.
That is correct. That needs to be inserted in the minutes what the letter is for. Okay. Anything else that needs to be corrected, Ms. Mathis, that you notice?
None that I saw, Mr. Mayor.
Any other board members?
No, those were all. I saw those two. Those were all.
Okay. So at this time, with those corrections to be made in the minutes, how do you vote? Alderwoman Mathis?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving?
Aye.
Alderman Davis?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Minutes of the regular meeting of April 28th of this year to be approved with those corrections and those proper insertions into the minutes. And thank you, Alderwoman Mathis, for bringing these corrections and errata to our attention. Thank you so much. At this time, we welcome all the visitors that are on the call with us. And we have on the agenda Dr. Ruth Nichols with our Community Development Director, Mr. James Johnston, to discuss workforce opportunity for rural communities, Delta Regional Authority. Good evening.
Mayor, Ruth had an emergency and is not able to participate. We would like to postpone our presentation to the next board meeting.
Okay. Request to defer this discussion, or this item rather, with the board at a later date, and more specifically at the next board meeting. It is so granted, Mr. Johnston. Thank you. Next, any unfinished business? If not, proceeding on, any county
Mayor, I'm
business?
sorry. Let me go back. I was trying to get to you on unfinished and was muted. Going back to that date that James gave, then what will we do? We need, I guess, and I can wait until the next meeting, but I think we need to come up with a time certain, and maybe by the first meeting in June, as to when we're going to start. Or have you looked at when we will start that work back up at the North Natchez drainage project out on Marblestone Road?
Okay, this is under unfinished business. Mr. Johnston, have you had any discussions?
Yes, sir. I have been speaking with the project engineer, Tremone Smith, and the contractor is anxious to begin once the 60-day period elapses on June 14th.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I heard the
thank
wrong
you.
date when you gave it before, and I thought it was April. I didn't think it was April. It was June 4th.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure I was right. Thank you.
Yeah, he did say April 14th earlier.
He did, sir.
He meant June, right? Thank you, James. All right, any other unfinished business? If not, proceeding on to county business. Is there anything from the county? Hearing none, we're moving on to department directors' reports. At this time, our Community Development Director, Mr. James Johnston.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I believe I gave you a draft copy of my report last week, and Dustin has it available on GoToMeeting. First item, Natchez Railroad At-Grade Safety Improvement Program. Natchez Railroad is requesting the Mayor and Board of Aldermen to accept the low bid of Mid-South Railroad Services, Inc. for the upgrade of 9 automatic warning device installations for the At-Grade Safety Project Task 4.0 that was advertised with an RFP dated April the 10th and due on May 13th. Mid-South is located in Fairbanks, Louisiana, and submitted a lump sum bid of $882,907.95. Motion.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we accept this low bid from Mid-South Railroad Services? The bid amount is $882,907.95. That's 882,907.95.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Alderwoman Mathis, second by Alderwoman Smith. Readiness on the motion. Hearing none, Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving?
Aye.
Alderman Davis?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert?
Aye.
It's unanimously approved, Madam Clerk, that we accept this low bid from Mid-South Railroad Services. James, next item.
In addition, back on March 11th, staff brought before the board a request to allow the Natchez Railroad to issue a request for statement of qualifications for firms and/or individuals interested in providing engineering services for the design and preparation of plans for the railroad embankment retaining wall into northwest abutment on St. Catherine Creek. Proposals were due to the Natchez Railroad by April 4th, 2020. Alderwoman Sarah Carter Smith and Alderman Dan Dillert agreed to serve on the committee, in addition to staff, to review the proposals received from this solicitation. The selection committee reviewed the proposals received. Based on the cumulative score and a letter of recommendation from Natchez Railroad, Neil Schaefer was selected to provide the engineering services for this activity, requesting a motion to confirm.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Dillert. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Davis. Unreadiness on the motion. Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis.
Aye.
Alderman Frazier.
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving.
Aye.
Alderman Davis.
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert.
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Proceed, Jane.
Citywide Water Improvement Project, second public hearing. At 11 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday, May 26, staff held the required second public hearing for the Citywide Water Improvement Project, albeit a virtual public hearing. Staff has requested the minutes of the public hearing and related documents be made a part of today's board meeting minutes. Bulletproof Vest Program,
Okay.
Bulletproof Vest Program, U.S.
Proceed.
Department of Justice. Oh, I am. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Bulletproof Vest Program, U.S. Department of Justice. Staff is requesting permission to submit an application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the purchase of 8 vests at the request of the NTD at an approximate cost of $712.15 per vest. The program pays approximately 50% of the cost of each vest.
Okay, you've heard the request. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
Right. It's been moved by Alderman Frazier, second by Alderwoman Irving. Any unreadiness on the motion? Hearing none. Ward 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Ward 5?
Aye.
And Ward 6?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. James?
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Moving on to our Recreation Department Director, Mrs. Faye Minor.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. At this time, I am requesting permission to replace 2 staff that will not be returning from the pandemic break. At this time, we do have 1 full-time employee at the tennis shop. She works Monday through Friday, from 8 to 5 o'clock. She will be returning. My 2 part-time that covers the weekend will not be returning. One is a CNA whose job is in demand due to the coronavirus pandemic, and she's working 12 to 16 hours right now, and she would not be able to uphold her obligations to city tennis. The other one is having some serious problem with state and unemployment. I'm not sure if Human Resources has discussed this issue with you, but she will not be returning at this time. And I am requesting permission due to the emergency. And the tennis shop will not open until the 1st of June. And I am asking permission to hire replacements for those 2 people. I know we have a hiring freeze, but this is an emergency at this time.
Okay, you've heard the request from the Director of Recreation to allow her to be able to hire 2 part-time employees. And she has presented her justification for her need in that 2 of the part-time employees will not be returning due to the pandemic. What is your pleasure, Alderwoman Mathis?
I have discussed this with another alderman, and I think that we need to hear the discussion of the board. What I said to Ms. Minor was to bring it to the board, and I'm not making a recommendation. I would like to hear the discussion of the board in terms of where we are going financially, and if we could do both, that would be a good help over there. But we definitely probably need to do at least one of those hires. So I would like to hear the discussion of the board before I make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Are there any, do we have any discussion on this request?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderwoman Smith, go ahead.
I understand these are replacement positions, but is there any way that one person can help and cover this? I mean, because we're trying to be very conservative in what we're doing because we know what's coming ahead with our revenue.
Ms. Minor, you want to respond to that?
I think there's a possibility if we hire that, get one that will cover the weekend, and we can alternate that one person with the full-time person, maybe give the full-time person, a couple of days off during the week, and she can also fill in for that weekend. Yes, we can make that work if we have to.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
If not, yes, Mr. Dillert.
To the recreation directors. So how many employees does the tennis department have employed currently?
3. They have 3, 1 full-time and 2 part-time to cover the weekends. But that one person gets off at 5 o'clock every evening. So someone has to cover the tennis shop from 5 to 8, 9 o'clock at night with people there playing tennis. Because a lot of people do not come to after 6 when they get off from work. So that the full-time person work up to 5 o'clock, and then the part-time person come, and then we have to have the weekend. We can't wait to work the full-time person weekend because we're looking at, she's already put in 40 hours. So we have to work that person who's worked those 20 hours during the week with her from 5 until also has to put in hours the weekend along with another part-time person. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why we had 2 part-time people to fill in the evening time and on the weekend.
Are these 3 employees that you just mentioned, is that in addition to the pro?
That's in addition to the pro. The pro would be 4.
Right. I looked at our current budget, and if you look at the city clerk, would look at the salaries, I don't think it was budgeted enough for a pro and 3 employees. At the most, it was budgeted for a pro and 2 employees. If you add the numbers up, which would be, it's in the most current budget status report. It was like total of the employees' salaries was $58,000 and some odd dollars from that. So I guess what my point is that you're looking at a replacement, but that replacement was never budgeted from what I can see in the budget status reports that we have. So which position are you replacing? There's a clerk, there's an attendant.
Yes, it's a clerk. All of them are clerks. Now, they had 3 when I made it, so that's where we are. But you have the 8 to 5 person get off at 5, and then the other person come in from 5 to 9 o'clock and fill in. And if you multiply those 4 hours times 5 days, that person is putting in 20 hours. So that so the weekend, from what I can understand how it's set up, there was a weekend person that came in and worked to 5, and then someone else covered that other 4 hours on the weekend.
And
So they all got 40. It was, you know, they all got so many hours put in, and that's how they had to fill out. And I think Henry filled in. He filled in on some of those hours. So that's why I think they had the full time and then the 2 part time.
and the replacement that you're seeking to replace is a part-time employee.
They are part time employees.
And I don't know if this goes into personal information, but do we know what that salary range is?
Not sure what the I'm thinking they were making, and I don't want to even guess on it. But they were making part-time salary hours. I'm not sure on the exact amount. I would have to get with Madam Clerk on that one.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to get more information on this before we take any action on it. I certainly think the board is wise to consider it and to compare to our budgets and where we are. My concern is that when we get the Department of Revenue's tax information won't come to us until June the 20th, and that'll tell us a pretty good idea of the damage that has been done because of this pandemic and the economic consequences of it. My looking at the Department of Revenue's monies is that for the last couple of months, we're coming in short of the year before and what we're projecting. So there's a real possibility that we're going to be in a shortfall. The only thing I hate by not hiring someone that we need is not being able to sustain that employment towards the end of the years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion that we defer this request. Go ahead, Ms. Frazier.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Martin. So in other words, the full-time employee gonna work more overtime. If we don't hire back.
We may have to look at that. She working already like from 8 to 5, so we may have to look at that or get with Henry and see how many hours can he put in that weekend. And of course, you still, you know, that's probably even worse working him with those hours, because then you're looking at a substantial amount.
Right. So go ahead, Ms. Frazier.
So that was what I was just trying to find out, because it seemed to go like say the full-time employees sitting there working up, you don't have to be working overtime if you don't get those part-time employees in place. And I found it, but like I said, those part-time employees are helping out a lot, and we did it. Okay, we look into it, but they need to be hired as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. Yes, Ms. Mathis.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Ms. Minor, if we defer this until June the 9th, now when do you expect would you have enough coverage until June the 9th, or you are short now? They've already gone.
We're not physically ready to open till June the 1st or June the 2nd, because there's a lot of guidelines we have to get in place, along with plexiglass and so forth. So we're looking at, golf is looking at the 1st of June, and tennis we're looking at the 1st of June opening. But that's what we're looking at right now, Ms. Matt.
Okay, so my recommendation would be to go ahead on and defer this issue until the 1st of June, and let's look at our revenues and see what kind of revenues we're going to have a shortfall in. When you look at the city of Greenville, for example, I received an email today from there where they're doing a furlough, and we're trying to avoid anything of that nature. So if we can keep our current employees employed and keep them working, we need to do that. But let's hold off on anything until we can look at the revenues and see how we've been impacted from this pandemic. And that would be my recommendation, is that we just defer it until 1st of June. Is there a second?
I moved.
Is there a second, Ms. Smith?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the actual motion from the
I
person.
move
So
to
yes, I
defer.
Yes, Ms. Mathis offered a motion. Right. Okay,
I
so it's been moved by
and
Alderwoman Mathis that we defer until the 1st of June, a decision on these part-time employees. Second by Alderwoman Smith. Unreadiness on the motion. Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
You had unreadiness, Mr. Frazier?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I just
Go
want to
ahead.
say this, like, we're gonna take a vote on this, but as you know, that this gonna come up in a few more minutes, and we need to be careful on what we're doing. If we're gonna defer this, we might have to end up deferring the other one at this other department here thing. So we need to be careful on what we're gonna vote.
Let's keep the unreadiness germane to this motion. Is there any other unreadiness? If there be none, Alderman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, the motion has been approved unanimously that we defer any actions on this request for the Recreation Department until the 1st of June. Anything else, Ms. Minor?
Yes, I just wanted to prepare the board that Mr. Henry Harris, the tennis pro, is preparing his paperwork to end his employment at the end of this month, with his last day being in mid-June. That he would wrap up his 14-day notice. And just FYI, I just wanted to prepare the board that it was coming.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Minor. And at this time, I will entertain a motion that we adopt a resolution of appreciation and commendation to Mr. Henry Hawk Harris for his years of service as a tennis pro to the city of Natchez.
So moved.
So moved.
It's been moved by Alderman Dillert, second by Alderwoman Mathis. Any unreadiness on the motion? Hearing none. Ward 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Ward 5?
Aye.
And Ward 6?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Resolution unanimously adopted. Thank you. That's all you have, Ms. Minor?
That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Minor. Mr. Dollar, Public Works.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor and Board. My discussion and request would be in similar nature to Ms. Minor's, in that due to the pandemic in our office staff, we normally would have one full-time and two part-time employees. One part-time employee paid by the city, and one part-time employee that is funded through the senior aid program. The part-time employee that is paid by the city is out due to doctor's orders. And as far as a time frame on that, we don't know. It's kind of just left vague in that, until the status of the pandemic changes. So that puts us down that particular part-time employee. And then in addition to that, the other part-time employee that of course works through senior aid program, they have not released those to come back. So that has put a strain on us, being that there's only one individual, working out of the office here. So my request in that sense would be to try to hire a part-time employee to at least fill the spot of one of those vacancies. But again, that's just one of the vacancies we have within our department here. I've got another individual that currently works for us, but will be transferring to PD. I think they go sometime in June to the academy, and maybe the chief can can verify the exact date on that, but we will be, of course, losing that here in the next few weeks, within the month or so. In addition to that, we are down 3 other positions: CDL drivers, supervisor, mechanic. So we are, currently on that staff, we're down 4 employees. And in addition to the inmates, currently we normally would get anywhere from 8 to 12 inmates on a daily basis. We haven't gotten those in many months, and don't foresee, I think, over some discussion, that it could be maybe at the earliest in the fall, possibly at the latest after the first of the new year, before we get those back. So when you start looking at our numbers within our department, we have 12 individuals that work out in the field in the highway and street department. When you start looking at the vacancies we've got alone in that department currently, we've got 2 vacancies with 1 more to transfer out in a month. So that'll put us down to roughly about 11 individuals when from out of a 14-person staff. So with that, that's going to put a strain on us. In addition to, we're losing 8 to 12 inmates on a daily basis. So it goes more to the point to the vacancies hurt. So, seeing what the board's, thoughts are on trying to open these jobs up. These are all budgeted. They're in the budget. But opening these positions up so that we can start receiving applications and try to put people back on our staff.
Okay, and I understand, Justin, that it's in your budget, but as we all know, we had this unexpected event to hit us, which is this pandemic. We all know that we have lost revenues. We don't know exactly what major impact it has had on the city. We've been doing our due diligence to find out an exact number. My recommendation would be to defer this until we can see what kind of numbers we're going to be getting from the Department of Revenue to see how the city has been impacted economically, as a result of this pandemic. It's an unfortunate, and we all know this, but it's a situation that is very challenging for us. And I would just open it up at this time for discussions from the board. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Alderwoman Irving?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say that I understand about the finances and that, we're going to look back at it on the 20th. This is the 20th of June, Mayor. This is when we're possibly going to know what kind of funds we should be receiving from the state.
It will probably be before then. It will probably be early on in June. And we're also, we're trying to see if we're going to possibly get any of the quote unquote money that has trickled down from the federal government to the state that can actually assist municipalities. So we're also looking there and hoping that we could possibly recover from the state. But we should know early June, Alderwoman Irving, of how we've been impacted from the pandemic in terms of our revenues.
Okay.
Yes, who was that?
I wanted to say that I certainly understand the situation that we're in. I just want everyone to be understanding of the fact that, our staff currently, we're down between our vacancies and our inmates. We are down less than 50%. If you totaled our employee count up with our inmates here and what we have currently, we are functioning at less than 50%. As far as out in the, out labor, out in the field type workers, we're functioning at less than 50%. The call volume has not stopped. It still is the same as it was before. So the workload is still there. It's just a matter of we don't have the individuals to do the same workload that we could have done in the past. And as long as everyone understands that and is okay with that, then, that's certainly something we can wait and look at, as time goes on. But I will say that we're functioning at less than 50%.
Yes, Justin, and I totally understand, and it's important for not only the aldermen, but the citizens of Natchez to understand that the workforce in the Public Works Department has slightly decreased. So, if somebody wants a pothole, for example, refilled, it may not be overnight. It may take several weeks. So, and that's due to, of course, our shortage, and we, we've not done any replacements because of the shortfalls in revenues. And so, Justin, if you can bear with us until at least the first meeting in June to see where we are, we should have some type of idea of where we will be, in terms of our revenues by then. And we will also probably have some kind of indicator from the state to let us know whether or not we're going to be receiving any of those revenues that they've received from the federal government that will trickle down to the local level. Is there any other discussion from the board members on this issue?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just want to also include, I know you gave an example of a pothole, but they've had lots of calls on adjudicated property. This is grass cutting season, and we got lots of overgrowth of grass and debris on property that needs to be cleaned. And normally Public Works do cut that. So again, we're just asking everyone to be patient, and realize that it will get done. It's on the list, and they are working toward trying to get those properties cleaned up.
That's a very good point, Alderwoman Irving, and thank you for that.
Mayor,
so
can I ask one question?
Go ahead, Mr. Dollar.
Yes, sir. And this hold or freeze on hiring, is this for all city departments?
That is correct.
So no departments can hire. It's everybody's on a freeze.
That was the action that the board took in our last meeting, that we put a freeze on all hiring, and that is, if anybody is to hire in their departments, it has to be approved by the board first.
So with my employee expected to transfer to PD, would that still be in place, or due to this freeze, would that transfer not be able to go through?
It has to be approved by the board. The transfer has already been approved by the board. And what I mean by that, the board had already approved for the police chief to hire his officers. That was done several meetings ago.
Okay.
So that
my
hiring
question I was
involved
asking.
one of your transfer. Correct.
Right.
That was
So they were
approved several
allowed
meetings
to
ago.
hire. PD was allowed to hire by the board.
Yeah, that's been approximately 6-7 weeks ago, if not longer. Yes. And that was actually before the city recognized the impact that we were having as a result of this pandemic in terms of our revenues, Mr. Dollar.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Hold up. I can only take one person at a time, Mr. Frazier.
Mr. Mayor, I see what he's saying, but when you're transferring, they're not hiring. You just change from one department to another. So that's all that he's doing. He's not getting hired. He's already on the city payroll. He's just getting transferred. That's all he's doing. And that's like you say, because they got a shortage in people. Now, if they want somebody to transfer from Duncan Park to the police department to Public Works, they could be glad to do that.
Okay, so we could transfer. So we could transfer a part-time employee from the golf course to Public Works.
No. What I'm saying, if this person wants to come to if they want to transfer from Duncan Park, I don't see no issue with it. But like I say, but the only problem is they're gonna have to be dealt with by the department head if they're gonna let that employee transfer. That might be it. Like I say. So
that would be the same way.
If it's already been approved by the department head, he can go. So it's already been approved. As the mayor say, he already been approved. So he can go.
even though you realize you're leaving one that he just stated that it was 50% low of employment there, you know, and you're transferring another employee. And I understand what you're saying, but
No. Let me
Okay.
say this. We should get up transferring. What we're talking about is the shortage of employees. So we should just concentrate on this one person about transferring. We should concentrate on what germane to this is about the hiring process. That we're gonna hire, we're gonna put a freeze on hiring. So that's all we need to talk about.
Okay. So the thing that we need to keep in mind during this whole discussion is that we need to keep in mind to make that we hope and we pray that we don't have a major decline in our revenues where we might have to lay people off or have furloughs. We're trying to keep people with jobs that currently have jobs in the city. So let's kind of hold off and see where our revenues are going to be at the 1st of June, how we've been impacted as a result of this pandemic. So that's my recommendation at this point. So do I hear a motion that we defer this action until later?
Second.
Is there a second? Moved and second that we defer any action for Public Works requests on employment of new hires until the beginning of June. Unreadiness on the motion. Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving?
Aye.
Alderman Davis?
Aye.
We didn't lose Alderman Davis, did we?
Aye.
Alderman Davis? Is your
He
phone on
acknowledged.
mute?
Aye.
Okay, and Alderman Dillert? Okay, Madam Clerk, it's unanimous. All right, any other department directors out there that need to report? If not, I'm moving on to city official reports, starting with you, Alderwoman Mathis.
Okay, here I am. I was muted. I apologize. I was trying to read something for you all from a text that I sent. On May 13th, I observed some property on Natchez Street between 112 and 118 Natchez Street. Natchez Street dead end. This is a dead end on Chickasaw, and the property owner keeps the grass cut wonderfully, but he's observed students playing on piled up timber on the railroad track, and he's also noticed when he cuts the lots that there are a lot of snakes over there. And the snakes run out from this piled up timber that's on the railroad track. He has also stated that some of the neighbors over there have had 3 to 4 feet long or 5 feet long snakes on their porches. So he's trying to get somebody to remove that timber because he's worried, especially now it's getting warmer. I know we're keeping the kids in. I know about social distancing. I understand that, but you know, kids, they're going to play somewhere for even a small, but we just don't want anybody to get bitten by a snake. So what I'm asking, and I did send all of the pictures, and I sent the information to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson did get in touch with the railroad. Now, I almost brought this up when we were passing this tiger information, but I didn't. I waited until my report. And it's my understanding that the railroad people had looked at this last fall, and that they could not get the truck that they had scheduled to pull this. The crane had broken down and was decommissioned. So they were working on securing a replacement truck. Well, if that was last fall, that was 2019. This is the summer of 2020. And I'm asking that this board send something in writing to the railroad people who are in charge of this area, and it's piled up over there on one side. It just needs a crane to push it over into wherever it would go. I think there's a bayou over there. But Mr. Johnson knows the entire situation. We need to get something done before somebody, I mean, people shouldn't have to deal with snakes. We're not even talking about somebody cutting grass. We're just talking about the railroad people moving all these piles of timber that they have. So I'm asking for help from that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Ms. Mathis. And I also had Public Works to also look into this situation to investigate it. But what I'll do is entertain a motion from you authorizing that we send an official letter to Natchez Rail in order to abate this nuisance and this potential hazard to the community.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Mathis and second by Alderman Frazier. Readiness on the motion. Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2, how do you vote? Mr. Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Irving, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mr. Dillert, how do you vote?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Proceed, Ms. Mathis.
That ends my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Alderman Frazier?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Frazier. Alderwoman Smith?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderwoman Smith. Alderwoman Irving?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I want to begin with, I want to ask every community member to take personal responsibility in wearing your face mask. Secondly, I want to express how grateful I am on behalf of Bishop Cade, Pastor Betty Cade, Cheryl Giddens, and Ms. Jarita King for their generous donations to make a positive difference in the lives of our seniors that live in the Natchez Housing Authority facilities. They were graceful, the food was delicious, and once again, I just want to say thank you so much for your missionary work and your generous support. Thank you. And that ends my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderwoman Irving. Alderman Davis?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Davis. Alderman Dillert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring something to the board's attention and request a motion that the board approve the Finance Subcommittee to solicit a local accounting firm to assist the city clerk's office in reconciling the 2018 ledgers to the bank statements. And I'll get the motion, get the second, and say a couple more words.
So are you offering the motion, Mr. Dillert?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Dillert, second by Alderwoman Irving, that the city hire an accounting firm to assist the city clerk in the reconciliation of the statements so that the audit can be completed. Any unreadness on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Frazier?
Was that already on the recommendation that Wallace sent us anyway? Did we get that from Wallace? That was his recommendation that we do that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay.
Is there any other unreadiness? Hearing
I
none.
Mr.
Go
Mayor,
ahead, Ms. Mathis. I hear you. Go ahead.
I was wondering, because we had talked about something earlier in terms of the audit, and I understood that one of the auditors or somebody was going to come and meet with the city clerk on Thursday. And I'm trying to, I know we're going to have to do something at some point. And I was hoping that maybe we could have a special call, because the finance committee has not gotten back together. And I would have hoped that we could have, we need to look at how much that's going to cost and how that's going to be affected in the budget also. But is there a way that we can allow, it's going to be tight. I know, Mr. Dillert, I understand what you're doing, and I know the necessity. But I was wondering if does anybody feel, and Mr. Mayor, you would know more than anybody else because you're there. Do you feel that whatever is done Thursday could possibly allow us to go forward, or you think we need to immediately go on and
Right. Yes. Carl Hammond, the auditor from Silas Simmons, is actually meeting with the clerk. I understand first thing in the morning. Am I right? Correct, Madam?
Tomorrow at 9. Yes, sir.
It's tomorrow at 9. So it would be a very good idea that if we could defer this action until Thursday, I could have a special call once we get an update from Carl Hammond, the auditor, to let us know what can be done in order to get those reconciliations achieved. Because here again, we've got to look at our revenues and try to be as frugal as possible during these tough financial and economic times. So I concur with you, Alderwoman Mathis.
I just wanted to hear that first, so then we know if there's no way that we can get anything done, we have to have the audit. We know that. And Mr. Dillert, I appreciate where you're coming from, but I think we need to at least let him tell us what. I'm concurring with you, Mayor, and I'll move to defer. But you know, I'm not trying to us to have differences. I'm just trying to make sure if we can save the money, we'll save it. If we can't, we have to spend it. That's where I'm coming from.
And let's just make plans to have a special call on Thursday in order to make that determination whether or not we need to proceed forward with the action that Mr. Dillert is requesting. But at least let's get let's kind of find out in the morning where we are, and I can have a special call on Thursday. Ms. Smith, you want to comment?
Yes, my phone cut out and I had to dial back in right after Alderman Dillard made I think a motion, and I would have seconded it, but I am trying to catch up. So I'm hearing that because I think the recommendation's already been made for us to do it. So I guess he can make it again on Thursday, but I'm in full support of doing that, and I would second the motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Dillard?
Yeah, and I'm okay with the discussion that we're talking about. I mean, Thursday's 2 days away, but if you're a little bit careful, you would have heard my motion was to solicit or contact an accounting firm. The word hire never entered into my motion. It was just an effort to start the groundwork in the event that we're going to need that sort of additional help. But I'm okay with the defer. We can do it on Thursday, and Thursday will be here soon enough.
Okay, so Alderman Mathis, you want to offer that motion to defer it until we can reconvene?
Yes, sir. Okay. I move to defer until Thursday.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderwoman Mathis and second by Alderwoman Irving that we defer any actions on, in the term that Mr. Dillard used is to more or less try to get, what's that term, Mr. Dillard?
Solicit.
To solicit any accounting firm for reconciliation purposes, and we'll defer until Thursday. If there's no unreadiness on the motion to defer, Ward 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Ward 5,
Aye.
Ward 6.
Aye.
Okay, it's deferred until Thursday. Mr. Dillert, the rest of your report.
That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dillert. Next on the agenda is the city clerk's report. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I have on mine for her too, but I already have her. She's on staff already, Miss Green, and she's been very instrumental in getting this stuff together for Mr. Hammond for tomorrow. And she's also gotten a lot of stuff together for Springbrook for our training. She's gone over her 20 hours, and she's a replacement for Mr. James Bailey. So I wanted to bring her on because I'm starting my budget process and getting budget sheets out to my department heads and wrapping up this audit hopefully tomorrow with Mr. Carl Hammond. So I was going to ask the board to go ahead and bring her on from part-time to full-time. But I'm going to wait until on Thursday you guys get the report from Mr. Carl Hammond, and I'll bring that back to you at a later date. So at this point, I would ask you to approve my claim docket.
Okay, you've heard the request for the approval of the claims docket. Yes, Ms. Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I got part of that. I'm trying to understand, is the city clerk, do you have a part-time hire that is assisting in the clerk's office?
Yes, sir, I do.
Who is that?
Her name is Miss Green, Cottrell Green.
And let me ask this, how long has she been serving in the clerk's office as part-time?
It hasn't been quite a month yet, probably like 3 weeks maybe. I don't think it's been a month because she's only got one paycheck.
Well, my concern is I haven't seen a hire fire report, and I do not remember this coming to the discussion. I would like to remind all department heads that a contract for an employment is a contract nonetheless, and all contracts that bind the city have to come before the governing authorities before they can be executed. And I just think all department heads would be well advised to adhere to that. Having said that, Mr. Mayor, that's all my comments are.
Okay. Claims docket approval. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Alderman Frazier, second by Alderman Davis to approve the docket of claims. Any redness on the motion? Hearing none. Ward 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
I'm not voting, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Ward 5?
Aye.
Ward 6?
Nay.
Okay, so we have 4 in favor. We have 1 that did not participate, Ward 4, and Ward 6 voted no on the claims docket. Next is Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I ask the board for approval of the mini docket.
Okay, you've heard the request. What's the pleasure of the board? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved by Alderman Frazier, second by Alderman Davis to approve the mini docket of claims. Unreadiness on the motion. Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
How in the world this all got merged, Leslie?
Okay, please, whoever that is, please mute your phone. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving, how do you vote?
I won't participate, Mayor.
Okay. Alderman Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert, how do you vote?
Nay.
Okay, the vote is 4 in favor, 1 did not participate and abstained, and we have one alderman that voted no. Okay. Anything else, Madam Clerk?
No, sir. Thank you. It's in my report.
Okay. City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor, I've got a couple of items for the board. One involving the matter we discussed in executive session pertaining to the need to cancel a deed of trust. It dates back to 2002. So I'll need a motion from a board member to cancel the deed of trust that was recorded in deed of trust book 642 at page 200 of the records of the Office of Chancery Clerk from Marjorie P. Pullen to the City of Natchez dated May 31st, 2002.
Will you spell, oh, wait, hold up, Ms. Mathis. Will you please spell her name for the purpose of the minutes and that this is recording so that it can be inserted correctly, Mr. Attorney, please?
Okay, it's Margie, it's M-A-R-G-I-E, initial P, period, Pullen, P-U-L-L-E-N.
Okay, Ms. Mathis,
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Alderwoman Mathis and second by Alderman Davis that we cancel this deed of trust in the name that was stated by the city attorney. Any unreadiness on the motion? Hearing none. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert, how do you vote?
Aye.
It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. City Attorney?
The next item I have, Mayor, James Johnston sent me an access and maintenance agreement pertaining to the Mississippi Revetment Natchez Front project. I reviewed the document, made the change, and it's been approved by the Corps of Engineers. James is available to discuss what the project, the details of the project. I think primarily it's based on the erosion of the bluff down toward the casino area. Since the casino has the lease from the city, they'll have to sign an access and maintenance agreement also, but the city also will have to sign this agreement. So if the board has any questions that they'd like to ask James in particular, then he's available to answer them.
Are there any
Yes.
questions? Yes, Ms. Mathis?
Is there, first of all, I'd like to know, is there any cost to the city on this? This is a much needed project and we lobbied hard for it. But is this something that is going to be taken care of by the Corps? Or is there a match? If so, what is it? Could it be explained to us since we don't have anything on this?
There is no match. That's my understanding. I received a cold call a couple of weeks ago from the Corps regarding this. They receive monies annually to do maintenance activities along the riverfront. I know when I was working elsewhere, the same thing happened at that time. They receive appropriations and they go as far as the monies allow. And so some of the monies they receive for this current fiscal year are being dedicated in the area Mr. Latham spoke of.
Oh, if that's the case, I moved the project, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Alderwoman Mathis and second by Alderman Davis. Readiness on the motion. Hearing none. Ward 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Ward 5?
Aye.
Ward 6?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, and I think James has the amended agreement that he will get to you to sign, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
One other thing I mentioned, I think Chesney has prepared a bullet point of the comparisons between the city stay-at-home order and the executive order by the governor. Actually, there's one order, and I think there's like 6 amendments, and making some of the comparisons. So it'd be a kind of a quick reference, and I think should be getting that out. We've been kind of going back and forth this afternoon, so I just wanted to point that out to the board. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, City Attorney. As far as the mayor's report, I just want, on a personal note, on behalf of the mayor, Board of Aldermen, and the citizens of Natchez, I just want to extend gratitude and appreciation to the task force that has been involved before this was even classified as a major pandemic. They have worked diligently, and Mr. William Thames, who has presided over numerous meetings, who's conducted research, putting data together, along with other volunteers like Ms. Doyle and others. They have worked diligently. I just want to express gratitude to all of those individuals, along with other members that have been involved in this process and continue to be involved in this process, because many of these individuals have volunteered their time and dedicated themselves in order to reduce the spread of this disease and try to prevent as many fatalities as much as possible. And that's all I have. Any new business to come before this board?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm asking for closed determination for personnel immediately following, before we adjourn on the new business.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion for closed determination. Unreadiness? Hearing none. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2? Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Ward 5?
Aye.
And Ward 6?
Aye.
All right, a motion to proceed into a closed determination has been unanimously approved. Okay, Dustin, I guess we used that same number earlier?
Yes, sir. Same number.
Okay, thank you. All right, you can hang up and go to the other room for the closed determination.
This is Bob Latham, City Attorney. The board's gone to executive session. They made a determination that there's an item that qualifies for executive session, which is litigation involving the city clerk's office.
Dustin, we have all the aldermen back?
No, sir, not yet. We're getting close.
Okay.
Alicia Irving.
Thank you, Ms. Irving.
Okay, thank you.
Joyce Arsenal Mathis returning.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis.
Smith is back.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
So we're just waiting on Alderman Frazier.
Mr. Dillert is back.
Yes, sir.
What about Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir.
Is the clerk back?
Yes, sir.
And what about the city attorney?
I'm back.
He's there.
Okay. All right, and we're waiting on Mr. Frazier?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dustin, I'm trying, how do I get out of this? Let me see.
Yes, ma'am. Alderman Mathis.
I think I found it.
Okay. You did good. We got it. I think the computer is still on. I can see that you're still logged in on the computer there.
I can't. I'll call you.
You're fine. Stay just like you are. Don't change anything. You're good.
So I understand, Ms. Mathis, that you've had your dinner.
I've had my dinner, Mayor.
I have a hunger headache. I might come by for a plate.
I'll be right behind. I'm coming right in.
You remember now, see, you were invited. Remember when you were invited and you failed to show up?
And I will assure you that I will be masked and gloved.
Well, you were invited when you didn't have to wear the mask and glove for my birthday party.
Oh yeah, that's right. Alderman Frazier, are you back?
He's not there yet. No.
Okay. We have, I think, a quorum. Madam Clerk, will you perform the roll call?
Yes, sir. Alderman Natchez?
Here.
Alderman Frazier? Alderwoman Smith?
Here.
Alderwoman Irving?
Here.
Alderman Davis?
Here.
Alderman Dillert?
Here.
Mr. Latham?
Here.
All present, Alderman Frazier, Mayor.
Okay, so we have a quorum. We've returned back to open. No action in executive session. And is there anything else before this board under new business?
Mr. Mayor, may I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I had a concern about a constituent who had an absentee ballot today. I didn't get a reply by text, but I think this person, her original one that was mailed out had the wrong ward on there. And so I think she was, another was taken directly to her home, but it was, again, Ward 2 and not Ward 3. What is when a constituent mails in for an absentee ballot with an address, how is it determined what ward that's in? And is there any checks and balances to make sure the right people are getting the right ward when they're mailed out absentee ballots?
Ms.
Yes,
Fortenberry?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the system, Alderman Smith. And we had another one like that in Ward 1 that says Ward 2 that the county fixed. And so I'm not sure. We got to go by what's in SIM. I can't change what's in SIM. I don't have the authority to change it. So I got to go by what the SIM system says. I think the county can change and then it can work with the state to get stuff changed in the system, but I can't. And this couple had been voting in Ward 1 for 16 years, but I printed their voter registration card off and it said Ward 2. So I can only do what the SIM system says.
So are we
sending
when
Yes, ma'am. I'm fixing them. Like I took that lady her ballot because I had to give her the right one. And then
okay,
the other one is the one, ma'am.
it's the wrong one she got today, so we need to give notice in the system as well as getting her another one that was correct.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I talk to Larry every time I get something wrong. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Gardner, I do. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And we can get her another one that's corrected. A third one.
I took it to her today. She has it. Yes, ma'am.
That one's she screenshotted the one you brought today again, and it was wrong. Unfortunately, it was Ward 2 again.
Wait, I don't know if you want to call the name out.
No, we will talk about that.
Was it Montebello?
No, it was not.
Okay.
No, we'll talk about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Why don't you get on the phone with the clerk after this meeting, Ms. Smith, and give her the specifics. I just hate for somebody's name to be called out there in the public.
Totally agree. And so it is strictly done by what's in the system.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did Alderman Frazier get on the call?
No, sir.
Okay. So at this time, if there's no other new business, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn in the memory of Mrs. Dale Holloway Steckler. Ms. Smith, you want to talk about her when you offered the motion to adjourn?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that she's just been an integral part of our community. She is of the Catholic faith, has been very devoted mother, I think of 9, and she was an integral part of her husband's efforts with the Natchez Music Festival as well as the Balloon Festival, the Great Mississippi River Balloon Races, which it was formerly called, and just a lovely person in general. And she will
And
be.
she was also a member of the school board.
Correct. Yes, she did take when her husband passed away, and she was very well thought of in that position as well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that. And I would just like to end this meeting in her honor. Thank you so much.
That's your motion to adjourn in her honor?
Yes, sir. Thank you. It is.
Second.
Is there a second? Who seconded the motion?
Mr. Dillert.
Mr. Dillert? Okay, it was moved that we adjourn in memory of Mrs. Dale Holloway Steckler by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Dillert. It is not a debatable motion. Alderwoman Mathis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderwoman Irving, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Alderman Dillert, how do you vote?
Aye.
It is so ordered. We stand adjourned. Thank you. God bless each of you. God bless our city.